Who knew you can combine education and podcasting at the same time? Are you interested to find out how we can get this figured out and get started? Let's go. Hey folks, welcome back to Podmentorspace podcast. First of all, happy 2025. The recording of this episode is in January 2nd. I was supposed to record earlier, but then, of course, I did not know it was going to be released on January. The blog was going to be released on January 1, and the episode is going to be released on January 3. So I kind of had to catch this on the deadline. So, of course, we're going to talk about education and podcasting, just the basics, nothing complicated here. Just to help you get started, to get you on your feet. And of course, don't forget there's going to be timestamps here just to get you guide if you're looking for a particular solution to your problem. And aside from that, I love you guys, and we love you guys here on Podmentor. And let's go. Of course, first of all, before we even get into the 3 points that I'm gonna get you into to get started into podcasting, why should teachers get into podcasting? So to answer this question, this is more like a personal slash personal experience slash personal thoughts on education. See, education over time has, I think it's the only system that is too old that requires some form of update. You know, many other content creators said that education is getting too old, and a lot of people believe that education is all about the money, which I do agree. Education is all about about the money, but teaching is a lifelong skill and a lifelong lesson that you can get inspired from by a teacher or an educator. So um, that is one reason. We need an upgrade. And my second reason is, of course, that based on what we learned from the pandemic from 2020, we had online classes that changed the total dynamic of education, because who knew that there was a potential for education to evolve at times of trouble. That was one of the best examples that showed us that education has a potential to develop, but as educators we need to find a way to take that to the next level. And I see podcasting as a platform that should help students or people who are learning, who wants to be in a field, who wants to grow by a podcast, or to get to know a teacher who is passionate about something, so that they can be passionate about the same field of study and just take that to the next level. And that's why we're here. We want to take podcasting and help people get to the next level. We're probably also in the education niche, but we want to help. That's the main goal of teachers. The main goal is to help someone get from point A to point B, irregardless of the mediums. It can be vlog, but yeah, we talk about podcasting here, so vlogging, that's probably another channel. So yeah, those are my two reasons why teachers should consider, although I put one reason on my blog, but doesn't matter. So now let's get into the 3 point get started phase. Of course, the number one, of course, is defining your podcast niche. So I know everybody says that niche. Some content creators out there, they cannot figure out what their niche is. Well, if you ask yourself one question, if you got one question on planet Earth, that is, who is your show for? If you're creating a show, if you're building a show, you want to produce a show in the education space, you have to answer, who is it for? Is it for students? Is it for fellow educators? Is it for students who want to follow your field, or students who want to learn more about the expertise that you offer in the field? And this is where you can figure it out by answering that question. And you alone can solve that question. I cannot solve that question for you. If you are in the art space and you want to help you want to help take art education to the next level, then that's your niche. But if you want to make a hybrid approach of adding art with, let's say, mathematics, that's a unique approach. But if you have a way to figure both subjects out and find it less complicating to teach for an ideal student, that's how you win. Basically, the the limits are there's no limits to what your niche is. There's hybrid ideas where you can combine two separate fields, opposite fields, or fields that work together. Like music history, math history, you know, and that is normally something that work together. And like I said, you can put art and maths. If you can put maths and music, there's so many potential ideas. But of course, you have to figure that out. You first have to answer, who is it for? So point number 2 is choosing the field of knowledge you want to explore. I do not know if educators or teachers would agree with me, but education is more than just the surface level. You know, there's so much more that you can unpack. It's like a Pandora's box that goes deep within. The Pandora's box mixed with a rabbit hole. If you choose a particular field of study, you get to discover a lot of things that you don't know about the subject itself. Even though educators believe that, you know, once you choose a particular field, you go down there and you think you've already accomplished. You haven't. You're just scratching the surface. You need to go deep. If you are into arts, music, accounting, uh, tourism, I'm just listing out some of the fields that I've associated myself with: mass communication, um, political history. So all these fields, they are just the generic stuff that you can learn. But if you as an educator know more about a particular, like, current affairs with politics, if you know something that other people don't know, where you can combine economics or something like that, and then find a way to figure out and express, I think you can win. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Choosing that knowledge and just going down that rabbit hole and just going on that journey and bringing people along. That's how you can actually win over students. And that's the beauty of education. You're only limited by the time that by the time of course the time that's given to you by school. But if you find a way to bring more emphasis and bringing more ideas that can challenge a student to think. And the best example that I can think of that has really found a way to make the conversation of education interesting is Neil deGrasse Tyson. I never expected to talk about this, and I didn't even expect to, because for me, Neil deGrasse Tyson, an astrophysicist, he has a lot of interesting thoughts about certain things, especially in the astrophysics community. You know, he is an interesting man to begin with. He has a way of expressing education to a point that you just want to sit down and just feel inspired to be a student. And that, I think in one of the masterclass ads, he actually said this, that education is not about, or I don't know whether it was a podcast or something, or it was in a masterclass ad, where he said that the goal of educating is to inspire a future generation to think. And that is supposed to be, that's a goal. That, I mean, not all teachers have the same. Some, they just do it for the sake of money, just to make ends meet. But teachers like that, with that kind of philosophy, really blows my mind. And there's also this content creator who also got into podcasting. uh what's her name? It's an interesting, she is from the Asian community, who recorded her, the way she became popular was, she recorded a session with a class. This was non-podcast related, just so you know. So she recorded teaching young students about a specific uh, topic. This was, I think, a kindergarten. I don't really know what grade they were in, but she was teaching them, and she was recording this, and that video blew up on Instagram or TikTok. And slowly, that's how she built her niche from the kindergarten into her personal brand. And then she was also invited to a couple of podcasts where she shared more of her life. I just don't know how, I don't want to butcher her name. In Instagram, her Instagram handle is Kiwi, and it's she Ki. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name. I apologize personally. Yeah, but she is a former teacher, and now she's part of the content creation community known as Miss Kiwi. And she her niche is in the education space, and she just started creating content, and one content blew up, and then now she's a content creator, and she is fixated on helping people be inspired. And that's one Neil deGrasse Tyson and her, they're in that space. So the opportunity for you to reach that kind of level of success is high. There is a potential. It's just that you have to figure out how to dig deep and get into the rabbit hole of your field of expertise, but also find a way to be entertaining. So again, this is one amazing content creator. I never expected to add this in the episode, but yeah, let's just go with that. So now, point number 3 is developing a podcasting schedule. I think I'll have to add more notes on the get started phase. But of course, developing a podcast schedule goes without saying, because of course, if you intend to create a podcast without a plan of having a consistent schedule, then there, you just create episode 1 thinking that will blow up, but not really. So it's like running like a headless chicken. So you should have a way to figure out your podcasting schedule. Of course, it is understandable. It's it's undeniably understandable that teachers are the most overworked group of people. After they clock in, of course, go to school, clock in, teach for hours, probably 8 to 5 or something, and then come home, grade papers, and then unwind. And that's the normal schedule I've observed for normal teachers that I've met. But of course, there are those teachers who just keep learning and find a way to express. And in my experience in college, there's one teacher that really blew my mind, and world literature, and he took world literature to a next level. For me, I was not even really into the whole subject matter, but the way he inspired me just blew my mind. And for people like that, those are like once in a lifetime type of teachers. And that's how, if you are one of those type of people, you're one of a kind, you want to really get your message out there to your students, finding a way around the hectic life that you have, and creating that schedule is a sacrifice that you're willing to put. That's just something that I'm sure you would agree with me, is that if you develop something, a posting schedule, it would be similar to you just brushing your teeth. Of course, you'll have to set up all that stuff. But if you have this down, as similar to brushing your teeth, waking up in the morning, brushing your teeth, then I don't think you'll have an issue with that. Once you have it good and settled down and everything is good going, that's how you win. But it requires sacrifice, and of course it requires the discipline for you to keep going and being consistent. So those are my 3 points. Just to summarize, of course, is defining your podcast niche, choosing a field of knowledge that you want to explore, and then developing a podcasting schedule. Probably this blog is going to be updated because I feel like there are more information that I missed out. But if there's going to be update, of course, I'll probably mention that in all the social media platforms that I release my content. So yes, before I actually conclude, before I conclude this entire episode, there's one thing that I just want to add, and this is what inspired me to create this episode. There's a lot of things that are running through my mind when it comes to education and podcasting. Podcasting to me is a passion or a purpose that made me want to stem out. Podcasting to me is something that I love doing, and I may be late into the trend. I just still, but I really love doing it so much. It's become some kind of purpose that I want to help people get to, reach their goals. So for me, the inspiration is similar to the mission and vision of this podcast platform called Podmentorspace, is that I just want to help people. And that's just the main goal that I wanted to share wholeheartedly, that I won't deny the fact that as an educator, I want to grow. I want to grow because I do believe that there is more that I don't even know in the podcasting that I want to know by building this show, by building this podcast. And, I want to build a community where people can ask questions, have that conversation, have that one on one mentorship. And I'm willing to go above and beyond to help you get from point A to point B. So that's one of the most important uh, vision that I have for podcasting. But in the general sense, I also want to talk about my inspiration for educators to get into podcasting is because we've been challenged by the pandemic, and of education has become more about money, and then the value of learning has been devalued. I mean, wherever you go, not just in the Philippines, everybody wants to get educated, but only the people who can afford it in private institutes. Even in private institutes, they make it more about money. So it's kind of hurtful for people who really just want to learn. I mean, if there's some people who want to learn, they monetize off of that hunger. It's sad that this is how the way the word works. It's all about, I will teach you for $1.99. And that reality of just teaching for the sake of your next paycheck is kind of really sad. So I just hope that education finds a way to upgrade and update itself. Our first challenge that was shown to us is that education could evolve. And like I said in the beginning, the pandemic changed that. Everybody was comfortable with just going to school, books in hand, thinking, yeah, the maths homework is gonna help me become genius. But then when the pandemic hit, the students were forced to learn and forced to adapt, and the teachers were forced to learn and forced to adapt to the new system. So I just do believe that educators who are really passionate and who find the purpose of helping others, I just hope, whether regardless of what you think about this episode, I just want you to focus on this message, is that believe that a teacher's job is to learn and grow at the same time. And if there's a message that I want to start off 2025 with for educators and students, is that never stop learning, never stop growing. Even if you are getting broke, educate. If you find a way to educate and inspire someone, just keep going, you know. And that's just my message. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys and happy new year. I hope this episode inspired you to become a better podcaster and an educator. And like I said, this is the first of many episodes. And with that in mind, cheers folks, and I'll see you in the next episode.